You spot something lying on the ground, a lump of coal. You kick it aside, but it isn't coal at all. It's a bundle of ancient scrolls, blackened and fused together, and they come with a kind of curse. The moment anyone tries to open them, they crumble into dust. For nearly 2,000 years, these scrolls have been mocking us. Everyone knows they contain the lost thoughts of the ancient world, written just before it was wiped off the map, but no one has ever been able to read them until now. Before we dive into how AI has unlocked this ancient book without ever touching it, we first need to understand how it became sealed in the first place, and why it looks more like a charred lump than a document. When Vesuvius exploded in 79 CE, it rained down 14 to 17 feet of ash, pumice, and debris. Pompeii's residents, buildings, and streets were buried, frozen in time. But about 12 miles northwest of Pompeii, along the Bay of Naples, lay a very different city, Herculaneum. Unlike Pompeii, Herculaneum wasn't simply buried in ash. Instead, superheated volcanic gas, ash, and rock, known as pyroclastic flow, rushed down the slopes of Vesuvius at roughly 400 degrees Celsius, sealing the entire town under 60 feet of hardened volcanic material. This made a difference. In Pompeii, organic materials like wood, cloth, and paper mostly vanished or decayed over time. But in Herculaneum, coal-like substances formed that resisted decay over time. That's why wooden furniture, food, textiles, and even scrolls survived to the present day. At the Villa of the Papyri, believed to belong to Julius Caesar's father-in-law, archaeologists uncovered one of the only complete libraries from the Greco-Roman world. When they tunneled into the buried villa in the 1750s, archaeologists found around 1,800 papyrus scrolls. They were intact, but charred into tight blackened bundles. At first, scholars mistook them for charcoal. Any attempts to open them physically would shatter the fragile carbonized layers into dust. For 270 years, the scrolls were one of archaeology's greatest puzzles. The scrolls promised philosophical and literary treasures, works by renowned thinkers along with the unknown riches of lost knowledge that once filled the villa's library. This is where the tragedy begins. These papyri aren't just old, they are chemically transformed. How were the scrolls preserved? Normal papyrus is made from plant pith, but the heat of the pyroclastic flow rapidly drove off of the moisture and altered their molecular structure. These scrolls became brittle carbon blocks with twisted fused layers. Traditional scanning technologies like early CT scans couldn't distinguish the ink from the carbonized papyrus because both absorb X-rays in the same way. In antiquity, scholars used black carbon-based ink, which is almost identical in density to the charred papyrus. For centuries, historians could only guess what was inside the Herculaneum Scrolls, even though this single cache likely represents the richest surviving source of lost ancient literature in the world. Technology has changed that. Using ultra-high-resolution X-rays and AI, researchers can now virtually unroll the charred scrolls and read the text locked away for 2 millennia. Before we dive into how AI reads the scrolls, we first need to understand the scientific nightmare that made them unreadable. Why has something that looks like a lump of burnt charcoal resisted every attempt to read it? To understand that, we need to stop thinking of the Herculaneum papyri as books. Instead, we need to treat them as fossils of information, with ancient data trapped inside of a carbon shell. When Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD, it didn't just bury Herculaneum, it superheated it. The pyroclastic flow blasted through the town. Inside the Villa of the Papyri, the air was instantly sucked of oxygen. That was critical. Without oxygen, the papyrus scrolls didn't burn to ash, they were carbonized. Imagine a marshmallow left too long in the fire. It doesn't disappear, it just turns into charcoal. That's what happened here, only this charcoal was once filled with philosophy, poetry, and science. And that was a problem. The carbonized papyrus and the carbon-based ink absorb radiation almost identically. There's no visual shadow of the words hidden inside. This is why early scans and physical attempts failed. Every time someone tried to open one, it disintegrated. Every time scientists tried to image one, they saw only a blur of black. It wasn't that the information was gone, it was that the information was invisible. The scrolls have remained intact but unreadable, mocking us from behind a veil of carbon. Scientists had to look deeper. And that's when artificial intelligence comes in. For the first time, technology could take a look at the microscopic details, such as how the structure of the papyrus fibers change when the ink sits on top of it, and start telling one layer of carbon from another. And once that was done, the scroll's mysteries could finally be unlocked. But what would a race to decipher the Herculaneum Scrolls be without a little competition? Enter the Vesuvius Challenge. In the world of ancient mysteries and modern technology, there are breakthroughs and there are quests. No quest captures the imagination quite like the one to read the unreadable scrolls of Herculaneum. It's a scientific treasure hunt complete with the kind of prize that people would kill for. In this case, the treasure is words that have been lost for millennia and a prize pool exceeding $1 million. It began with the creation of something utterly unique in the history of classics and computation, a global competition designed to decipher the Herculaneum Scrolls. This was known as the Vesuvius Challenge, a multi-year initiative that started in March 2023. The money was set aside to reward anyone who could solve the puzzle of how to read the carbonized scrolls without opening them. Unlike most scientific awards, this wasn't a medal or an honorary title. It was real hard cash to incentivize the brightest minds in machine learning and imaging from around the world. Imagine the scene. Students, researchers, even hobbyist coders poring over the images of the blackened scrolls, trying to teach computers to see what no human eye ever could. These scrolls had defied every attempt to read them. Mount Vesuvius had seemed to lock away the ancient knowledge contained within the scrolls and throw away the key. The Herculaneum Scrolls became the holy grail of classical scholarship and computer science at the same time. The answer came from an unexpected source: Luke Farritor. He wasn't a seasoned archaeologist or experienced AI researcher. Farritor was an undergraduate at the Jeffrey S. Reich School of Computer Science and Management at the University of Nebraska, but he had a passion for code and a curiosity about the ancient world. Over the course of the competition, he would become one of its most important figures. In late 2023, long before most people had even heard of the Vesuvius Challenge, Farritor achieved what many experts had thought impossible. He became the first person in the modern era to decode a Greek word from one of the scrolls. His breakthrough wasn't found in a dusty library or even a remote archaeological dig. It was discovered in lines of computer code. Using machine learning models he trained himself, Farritor taught a computer to detect the tiny, almost imperceptible differences between carbonized ink and carbonized papyrus. The result, he uncovered an ancient Greek word for purple, a simple color that could be worth $1 million. That one word was more than just a semantic victory, it was a proof of concept. It showed that it was possible to read these scrolls without physically unrolling them. For most people, finding a single lost word in a 2,000-year-old manuscript would be a crowning achievement of a lifetime. Farritor's success earned him not just acclaim, but $40,000 from the organizers of the Vesuvius Challenge, a significant sum for a college student. News outlets around the world celebrated what they called a moment when ancient history met cutting-edge technology. But if you think a breakthrough like that would make someone rest on their laurels, think again. Farritor didn't stop at one word. He continued refining and expanding his machine learning methods, pushing further into the tangled darkness of the scrolls. For him, the challenge wasn't just to extract another word, but to unlock entire passages. His work advanced from a single word to sequences of text, a transition that was technically monumental. And with each success, the stakes rose higher, both scientifically and financially. By February 2024, nearly a year into the competition's public phase, Farritor's efforts had paid off on an even grander scale. The Vesuvius Challenge named him one of the 3 co-winners of its $700,000 grand prize. It was reserved for competitors who could digitally decipher at least 4 distinct passages from the ancient Greek scrolls. That wasn't just a testament to a single breakthrough, it was proof that Farritor's methods were scalable as well. His name, once known only on a Midwestern campus, is now recognized worldwide for turning an ancient puzzle into a solvable computational problem. Yet, with all the prize money and accolades, the deeper story isn't just about cash. Luke Farritor wasn't equipped with an army of supercomputers or decades of specialized training. He was an underdog. He was a coder who had to dive into unfamiliar territory, merging forensic science with artificial intelligence. He had to teach an algorithm to see what humans could not after centuries of effort. His journey is the story of curiosity meeting artificial intelligence to solve one of history's most enduring mysteries. What was written in the Herculaneum Scrolls? After 2,000 years of silence, we're now able to decipher what the scrolls of Herculaneum say. And what they've revealed is an entire lost world of thought, philosophy, and debate from the last days of the Roman Republic. The AI-powered scans reveal that inside lies the only complete library from the ancient Greco-Roman world. Before these scrolls were discovered in the 18th century, the oldest surviving manuscripts were medieval copies, thousands of years removed from the originals. These papyri came straight from the hands of the philosophers who walked the streets of ancient Greece and Rome, or contemporary copies of those works. So far, researchers have identified hundreds of Greek philosophical works within the fragile rolls. Many come from the school of Epicurus, the 4th century BCE thinker who taught that the key to happiness lay in understanding nature and embracing simple pleasures. Among the Herculaneum Scrolls are portions of Epicurus's magnum opus on nature. In this, he explores everything, from atoms and the cosmos to the nature of sensation and the limits of human knowledge. But Epicurus wasn't the only voice trapped inside the carbonized papyri. Many of the scrolls belong to his later followers, including Philodemus of Gadara, a poet and philosopher who lived in the 1st century BCE and taught in Naples. Newly discovered passages are from his treatise on vices and virtues, a sprawling 10-volume examination of human behavior covering greed, arrogance, and flattery. Recent AI scans of the unopened scrolls just revealed a completely unknown text by Philodemus discussing pleasure, music, and food. Now, entirely new sentences, paragraphs, and chapters are emerging. It doesn't stop there. The scrolls also contain references to the rival Stoic school, including possible works by Chrysippus of Soli, one of history's most prolific thinkers. Ancient sources say Chrysippus wrote over 700 books, yet not a single complete one has survived to the present. That might have changed. While fragments of his work were found in physically unrolled scrolls decades ago, scholars hope AI will resurrect complete lost works of a philosopher who shaped the foundation of Western ethics and logic. What makes this discovery so astonishing is its sheer scale. The Villa of the Papyri, where the Herculaneum Scrolls were found, is believed to have housed around 1,800 scrolls. But what has been scanned and read so far represents roughly 5% of a single scroll. Many more remain buried deep under volcanic rock, still trapped in the ancient villa's lower levels. Experts believe that the villa's library might not even be the only one. Some archaeologists suspect there may be a second library beneath it, possibly filled with Latin works rather than Greek. This could further transform our understanding of Roman culture, science, and politics. In just the last few years, researchers have managed to identify entire passages, author names, and book titles, including Philodemus' signature and fragments of his literary critiques. The precision of modern imaging has become mind-blowing. Using high-energy X-ray tomography, scientists can identify density differences as small as a few microns. That is thinner than a human hair. With AI's pattern recognition, those tiny distortions turn into legible Greek letters. What was once a blur of black carbon has become readable text. As incredible as this is, it's only the beginning. The story is far from over. Scholars estimate that if even half of the remaining scrolls can be successfully read, we could gain access to hundreds of lost works, plays, poems, scientific treatises, and philosophical dialogues thought to be lost forever. What else will we find? So, if we've only uncovered 5% of a single scroll, what could be waiting in the rest? The truth is, we don't know, at least not yet. What we might find could reshape the way we understand the entire ancient world. Some scholars speculate that the remaining scrolls, or others yet to be discovered, could contain works known only in fragments or rumors. They might include lost plays by Sophocles or Euripides, missing volumes of Aristotle's Politics or Poetics, or scientific treatises by Archimedes, Hippocrates, or Hero of Alexandria that reveal technologies lost to antiquity. Others hope for something even more profound. There could be original manuscripts of lost historians like Livy or Sallust, or writings from early Roman poets whose voices were silenced by time. And if there really is a second library beneath the lower levels of the villa that holds a Latin library, we might even discover personal letters, government records, or scientific works that survived nowhere else. The scrolls that have already been read show us a civilization thinking deeply about morality, pleasure, and the natural world. They reveal minds wrestling with the same questions we still ask today. What makes life good? What is knowledge? What is virtue? If the other scrolls contain works from rival schools like the Stoics, Platonists, or Aristotelians, we could be on the verge of recovering the very debates that shaped Western philosophy. Imagine opening a scroll and finding new dialogues written by Plato's students, lost tragedies from the golden age of Greek theater, or treatises describing technologies centuries ahead of their time. It sounds like fantasy, but so did reading a charred lump of papyrus until AI made it real. And that's what makes this moment historic. In just a few years, we've gone from believing the Herculaneum Scrolls were hopelessly lost to reading them. The AI models developed through the Vesuvius Challenge helped turn what was once archaeology's greatest frustration into its greatest promise. Now watch what caused the Roman Empire to collapse, or check out how an advanced ancient civilization mysteriously vanished and more civilization questions answered.